Hi, it's Trent Clark, and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, and I am super excited to be with you today. We are on the comeback episode of Winners Find a Way, and I am Trent Clark, the CEO of Leadershipity, the serial entrepreneur, international speaker, longtime coach in professional baseball coaching in 3 World Series. And I am excited to be with you today to talk a little bit about our podcast relaunch. We have been doing podcasting now for over a year, and we released a number of episodes into the big podcasting network and market. And then, of course, we've had lots of content and fun on our Leadershipity YouTube channel. And we bring a ton of information. So I want to talk to you today a little bit about that relaunch, a couple of things we're doing a little differently, a couple of things we're learning and growing with. So super excited to have you here today. First thing, we are launching with a new background of artwork, editing, formatting for the podcast itself. You will not see a massive difference in that for our YouTube show, but we welcome that you're on both networks and we appreciate that. And for all those folks who are live out there, so appreciate you always tuning in. We have a great network in Leadershipity of a lot of one percenters in our market that are friends and business colleagues of mine who love to talk shop in being elite, leadership, team development, and becoming great. And it is a real blessing that I get a chance to bring these episodes to you. I'm so excited about the upcoming shows we have. We have a ton of great personalities, from professional baseball and professional football players to business owners, CEOs, to people that have exited their companies, people that own e-commerce, people that have been in the financial markets, people who have shifted through a ton of different business ownership and corporation and learnings from where they started in their college careers or where their training started to actually what businesses they're in today. So it's super awesome to see how one percenters have matriculated and have kept moving forward, and with that resolve and resolute that's so required and determination that it takes. One of the things that's such a great part of Winners Find a Way is I love the quote by Chris McChesney and Sean Covey in the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. Winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win. I think that is so crucial in today's environment, that we get and surround ourselves with team members that will figure out how to win, that we will find a way to win, that they'll do that. They are resourceful. They are, contributing in every way. Great teams have great contributors. And what's great about great teams is that if you look at like your great sports teams through the years, you will see at one stage of their success, you'll have a player who has a certain level of contribution around, as an early in their career, as an early adopter, this is where they're at. And then, of course, as a 23-year-old rookie, your role may change significantly as you become a 7 or 8-year veteran. And that's so important to understand as we look through, how do we do this really well? How do we get our systems to operate together? How do we define roles? How do we define responsibilities? And those are so crucial to getting good teams. So I am super excited to have you with us for the relaunch. A couple things that are going to be, let's talk about who is that podcast for. Winners Find a Way. So if you are looking to be elite, you are running an organization, you are the owner of an organization or business, you are a coach running a team, you are a manager of an organization or team, and you're in management of people, you are an elite performer and continuing looking for hacks, tips to get better, this is the podcast for you, because I always let people know it's so important to get to where you're dreaming about. And if you're dreaming about this big goal way out, we have to define what that goal is. That's very crucial in our training at Leadershipity. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go. And as you take those steps to the top of the pyramid of your goals, we want to know exactly what that looks like and define it, so we know when we get there, and we're on that journey. And B, that because it's defined, that when we get to the journey and we get to where we want to go, that we actually like and appreciate where we want to be there and go. I see many people who reach a goal and go, wow, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be or hope for. And so we want to establish that. I have long been labeled the dream maker because I get people and help them with their dreams and help them reach that. The big part of that, when we establish a dream that's so important, is when we see what that is, it's great to identify models of people that have actually reached the dream that you're going for. That is so important because A, it already proves there's a resource out there that has done it before and come before. So not impossible. Nothing's impossible, right? And it's been done. So I think that's a really key element to that. It also gives us, once we know what that is, we can re-engineer how we get there and the steps. Oftentimes, I'm a big fan of mentoring. So oftentimes, I look for a person that has reached that pinnacle to mentor one of our team members, mentor one of our clients to help them. And we move and design a plan that's even more efficient because as they went up their trail to where they wanted to get, they ran into a lot of challenges, a lot of pitfalls, and they can talk about where they saw those pitfalls. Where did it happen? Where were some of my challenges? What got me tripped up? Where were some of the battles that we faced? And having someone on your side and your team that's been there is so important. As we talk about why do we do this, right? I have been a coach my whole life. I have coached millionaire athletes from the time I was 23 years old. I coached top tier athletes even when I was 17 and 18 years old. I was a top tier athlete being coached and sponging all that information from great coaches. I have had great blessing of coaching with some of the best coaches in the world, which has been a huge asset to me because when we coach with people, we take a little bit of what we learn every time and we see what they do well. And we want to take those good things that they do really well and things that we may not agree in our values or we may see it differently or different training styles. We separate that and I may do that a different way. Even though I like some of the things they're doing there, I may just take parts of those things. And so it's refined. What's great about the hyper learning environment of professional sports is that in that environment, you have a bunch of world class athletes coming together that have been coached sometimes by some of the top coaches. Then you have top coaches in that environment that have not only coached at a high level, but often played the game also at a top level. So they have a ton of experience of all those people who coach them along the way. And then their years of service coaching others, learning how to be better and more efficient at being a better coach. And then we surround ourselves with everyone who's the best in the world at doing this, the best in the world at coaching, the best in the world at playing that game, the best in the world at a certain skill. And so there's a lot of commonalities now that come with the best in the world. And so as we get that hyper learning, I like to sometimes jump on our podcast and give little segments called the best in the world do this, whatever that is. The best in the world have self discipline. The best in the world have teams around them that help them and give them truth and support and all these things in coaching and direct them in a good way. And so we talk about what the best in the world. As a longtime coach, I always find that the best in the world have a coach. Why wouldn't you? Right. And so we provide a lot of coaching around worldwide, and we want to see people be successful. As you look at our show and as we bring on highly successful people, one of the misnomers I think in successful people is that they've never gone through challenge or it's always been easy. And some of the greatest stories, certainly of one percenters, are the overcoming of how do I get past this? How do I do this better? What did I learn from that time when I was really stuck in the mud and being challenged? That is so crucial. And those lessons are so great that we just love to share those with you. And every one of these one percenters certainly has a good story of being challenged, having to overcome adversity, and working through the challenges of that. So why I do the show is that I have been an educator. I'm a trained educator. I'm a teacher by trade. And I have been able to work with some of the top people who, through that education, have had great successes, whether that's world championships or whether that's selling their business for twice what they thought they could and building up a better life and a better career or a better business, building up their family lives, all those things. We are looking to hyper learn together and create value for people on their dreams and what they're going for. And so that's been a huge focus and certainly a purpose in my life to create value for other people in their lives. Um, as we look at some of the things of leadershipity, I always like to share at leadershipity, we have coaching and we are solution providers. And when we look at what's a solution provider, we have folks that come to us who are being challenged in that. And they're challenged in their business, they're challenged with their leadership teams, they're challenged with coaching up other people. The two things I've learned very clearly about running organizations is that very few team members went to study leadership or coaching. And now they're in these organizations, and these two huge skills are leadership and coaching that have to get us to that next level. And so we're learning together how to coach our organizations up, coach the team members up, get that best productivity out of each person on our team and provide an environment where it's a great place to be. I think people forget that at work, there's so much time spent in our lives at work. And so as we go back and we take a step into, hey, I spent all this time in my life. You should enjoy where you go to work. You should love the fact that you get to produce and contribute to an organization and team. And those are some of the biggest values you gain through your career is creating that value. So being aligned with people that value the same things you value and where you can feel comfortable in and psychological safety and all the things is so important. So at Leadershipity, we always like to develop people on those iddies, right? And there's all these iddies of leadership, and we really want that. And the biggest thing is we want some accountability for our leaders. That's a big iddy word. And when I look back at that, I always think of how the challenges. And if you take a look here at our pyramid of leadershipity, we love to talk about this pyramid because there's a lot of levels here that become very important in how we develop team members. And as we look at this, there's that first level of foundation, which is morality and authority. And that's critical in getting the right leadership on our teams. If we have a lack of morality on our teams, it becomes a lot of riff. It becomes a lot of challenge, and then all of a sudden we have legal consequences to that. We have fiduciary consequences to that. So it's a big challenge. The other thing is for someone to understand that if they are going into leadership, there's going to need to be authority. I am in a position of authority, and what that means. Does that mean like I have to do certain things? I have to own certain things? Certainly how that looks. These five kind of critical elements and iddies of that foundation of morality and authority are integrity and humility are these cornerstones that they're going to build up the pyramid. And if we don't establish those two things in our leadership teams, it's going to be a pretty rough road to build up what we're going for in our organization. So spirituality, stability, quality, round out the foundation. We should have a moral compass. We should have moral conditioning. We should have physical conditioning. We should have mental conditioning. All those things are important. Providing stability and quality in all of our work and in our folks and modeling that is so important. If we can get leadership to model those five things very well, that really covers a strong basis and a strong foundation and limits any cracks in the foundation. Obviously, if we have small cracks, they turn into big cracks in a foundation. So we're very aware of that. That second level is about what team members do I really want around me? And we have to really provide flexibility and reliability in our team members today. It's a challenge because it's just not cut and dry of what people can do today. And so we're looking for certain team members, and I call them ACEs. And the acronym is CARD. If I have the best cards, like the ACEs, I always win the game. And so coachability, adaptability, responsibility, and dependability are four big iddies that we really want in team members, and we're gunning for that. As a leader, as we navigate larger units of people, bigger dollars, bigger production, larger organizations, it becomes so important that we have simplicity and clarity from our leadership. We really need to define where we're going to do. And we do that through authenticity, visibility, and vulnerability. People need to be authentic. We need to see our leadership regularly, see them around, hear from them, get messaging. And we need to have a level of vulnerability as we build trust inside our organizations. Those three idiots are so critical to trust. And then there's this level of what I call the separator level of creativity and community. Organizations have a very challenging time of staying with continuing building creativity because we get in our ruts and we stay the same and don't ever change. And then we also have community, about how do we devise a community for our organization of what it means to be a part of our team, of our company. And diversity and unity play huge parts of that. Diversity is that we get so many different backgrounds from different experiences, and that is absolutely critical to success. We don't want everyone to think the exact same, because we may have very good production, but we also may have a lot of blind spots. And so we gauge better teams by having that diversity. And then, of course, unity of having the team towards a unified goal and a unified values. And those are so important. We see that really strong in some of the best teams, some of the world championship teams that you read about, and how unified everyone was. And the unity is the great balance to diversity, because as we get unity towards a goal, athletics is so good about creating that desire for a championship and a team coming together on how we create that. And when you have that, we're much less concerned about what people's background are, or what their experience is, or do they have enough experience, and who's their parents are, and all these things that take a second seat to, do I have someone on the team who is focused and has the skill sets that can provide what we need, and has that experience to bring that to the table. And so those become very important, and we get focused in on what we have, and not lose focus by looking at if someone has the financial resources, or is from the right background, or grew up in, or was born in the right country, and all these things that we look at that I would consider distractions from really building good teams and good organizations. Lastly, it's what every organization and team looking for is high, productivity. Results still matter. That's how we're certainly always going to be measured, and productivity looks a different way. There's a lot of great productivity with sometimes not always the best results in short term, but high quality productivity over time typically produces high quality results over time. So that is certainly the top line of the IDI. And what I probably see the biggest challenge of this pyramid is organizations that want to go right to the top and have a bunch of gaps on the 14 boxes below them, right? And so we lose some of that accountability around it. If you want to know more, or want to take your self-assessment of how am I as a leader, and am I developing my teams, please reach out to me at trent@leadershipity.com. And I'm happy to send you this assessment on your pyramid of leadershipity and how you and your organization may be doing. So a lot of fun. As we get back into the Winners Find a Way show, I highly encourage you to come aboard. We got some great sponsors coming in this year with Rebellious Beverage and a number of groups that they're super exciting that we're going to be involved with, and more podcasting and more content and more deep dives into a couple key things that we're always learning. How do we hyper learn? How do we deal with change and drive forward through change? Um, what are some of the challenges that we face along the way to being a lead, and how do we face them directly? Um, what do we do as time managers? I mean, time is one of those assets that it's the only commodity that we get to control. And yet I see tons of folks that treat it with very little um, honor and respect. And so they lose it, and so that's a big challenge. Why is self discipline so important for organizations and organizational leaders to have to continue to develop their pyramid and their organizations to that top tier level? Those are some of just a couple and few of the things we dive into. So I cannot wait for the new launch. I'm super excited for you to join us. It's gonna bring tons of value, practical knowledge. You're gonna be entertained. We're gonna get takeaways to implement, all sorts of business and organization and team hacks to make you better. And we're gonna answer some hard questions for people that are out there working through challenging times and being a resource for you and your team and your organization. I can't wait to see you soon on the Winners Find a Way podcast. Tune in on all the major networks: Google Cast, Spotify, Apple. You are going to love it on the podcast. Winners Find a Way show. We will look for you then. Have a great weekend.